I think the people of our country don't get enough credit for how smart they are. And I'm not sure I would have said this 10 years ago, but they get it.
Oh, so 10 years ago, you thought that the American people were not very smart, but here we are 10 years later, and you're going to start giving the American people credit. Okay, carry on.
You know, they really get it. When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life on this stuff.
I wish you would announce that you're going to spend some time with your family and just kind of leave. That would be really nice, you know, not just for me, but for hundreds of millions of other people.
But you're out of politics. I got indicted 4 times. All trivia, nonsense.
I think you mean trivial. Anyway, I'll let that one go. But, you know, we're talking about indictments, and they're not just indictments for the sake of indictments. They're indictments because you stole classified documents that contained official secrets about an attack on a foreign country. You shared this information with people who didn't have security clearance. You didn't even have security clearance yourself. You lied about it. You said you'd given them back when you didn't. Oh, and there was the other one where you tried to overturn an election, not just a local election or maybe an election of a mayor, but an election of the entire country voting for a president. You tried to overturn that because you lost. You lost. And when we lose, we concede. But you didn't.
Bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's horrible when you look and you look at what they're doing. The boxes hoax, I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do exactly that.
Well, let's not call it the boxes hoax, because there's photographs of all of these boxes piled up in your toilet, and you're not covered by the Presidential Records Act. That is not what this is about. And, you know, you're just lying to try and convince people that because there's something called the Presidential Records Act that they're never going to look into or look up because they don't really care. You're just using it as cover. And you publicly use it as cover, but the moment you get into a court of law, that defense falls apart. So why do you keep saying it?
I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do exactly that. He's not covered, and he's got 25 times the number of boxes. And he's got them stored in Chinatown. He's got them stored in a flimsy garage underneath his Corvette at Penn. And by the way, at Penn, he gets millions of dollars. China pays this guy millions of dollars.
Well, Biden is covered by the Presidential Records Act right now because he's the president, and you're not the president. But that's not the point. Biden didn't try and hide stuff and not give it back when they asked for it. There's a big difference between an administrative error and theft, and you actually stole this stuff. You were taking it as mementos. You were taking it as compromat, as leverage. You were going to sell it. You were going to keep it, and you just thought it was yours. And isn't this the problem? Not just the problem, but the difference. And this is what you refuse to acknowledge. So trying to project that Biden is worse or Hillary Clinton is worse. Again, it's fine saying this stuff with Tucker Carlson or going on right-wing media and being asked softball questions about it, but in a court of law, none of this defense stacks up. You know, you push a very compelling argument. I'll give you that. You make it look like it's official. Oh, it's official, Presidential Records Act. It's not the deal. The deal is different. The law is the law. And you cannot just make up the law, and if you say it enough times, it becomes the law. The law of the land stands, whether it's for you or for any other private citizen. So, you know, you're literally moments away from being humiliated because the argument that you've been pushing and presenting and convincing your followers that is your argument is not a legal argument. It's just a stupid opinion.
See, I think he's the most corrupt president we've ever had. And he also has the distinction of being the most incompetent. And I believe both. I mean, he's both incompetent and corrupt.
So
and
who
I
is running the
actually
government?
believe he's compromised because China knows so much about him. They know where the money comes from. They know where it is, who paid it, and they probably paid it. Well, they do pay Penn, and he gets $1 million. I think he takes $999,000 because, keeps it a little bit under $1 million, like by $1.
None of that is true. Like none of it. And if you keep saying it, you're hoping that it kind of becomes part of the modern vernacular, but it won't. Because again, you can't just make stuff up. And to say that Biden is the most corrupt president in history and that he's compromised, talk about projection. Talk about, knowing who you really are and wanting to push that over to the other side, projecting it onto the opposition. Biden is a public servant. He has been a public servant his entire life. He's never been in business. He's never done deals with anybody. He is not compromised. But you are.
But he, in many ways, is a Manchurian candidate. We have a Manchurian candidate, and he's afraid to tell Russia to get out of Cuba. He's afraid to tell China to get out of Cuba.
We know that you don't know what Manchurian candidate means. We know that. And deep down, you know that too.
But this is a housing development. They're going to build a housing development. And I said, how come the runway is 20,000 feet long? Private jets need 4,000 feet. They don't need 20,000 feet. The big ones need 20,000 feet. They don't even need 20. And I looked at the runway. I said, that's the largest runway ever built, both in width and length, for housing development.
I know that in this interview you've been told that you're not allowed to talk about Jack Smith or in any way, say anything that's going to put you in contempt of court. So now you're just like going off on tangents, talking about stuff that you know nothing about, trying to take ownership of it and trying to convince us that you know something about something when we all know that you don't know anything about anything.
One of the true great wonders of the world, as he said, one of the 9 wonders of the world. No, it was one of the 7. It happened a little while ago, It says 9 wonders of the world. You could make 9 wonders. He would have been better off if he stuck with the 9 and just said, yeah, I think it's 9. But this is one of the true 7 wonders of the world. And you take a look at the Panama Canal. It was such an incredible engineering marvel.
Did you forget that there were 7 wonders of the world and you accidentally said 9 and now you're trying to add the Panama Canal to the list to make it look like there's 9 and there was always 9 so that people don't question the fact that you said 9 instead of 7? You're the guy that wanted your head replacing one of the presidents on Mount Rushmore.
We sold it under Jimmy Carter. We sold it to Panama for $1. The following day, they quadrupled the amount of money that ships had to pay to get across. They didn't lose one ship. And now they've made it much bigger, and now they've widened it. They've doubled it, right? They've more than doubled it. And it's one of the most profitable things. Any time it's just incredible, right? We gave it away for $1. China now controls it. They actually control the Panama Canal. They run it, they control it. And we shouldn't let that happen. And we can't let China be in Cuba. And they'll get out. If I'm president, they'll get out.
I don't think you really understand the whole point of the Panama Canal. Selling it for $1 is nothing to do with this. The Panama Canal opens up shipping through to the west coast of the United States. It gives access to so much freight and tourism and trade. The cost of selling the Panama Canal is not where the money is. The money is the fact that now there is the free movement of marine traffic. I love the fact that you talk about this with such authority, like you seem to know that the deal, you can't sell the Panama Canal cheap. You clearly haven't read anything about what Jimmy Carter did. You're just trying to politicize it instead of understanding that the generosity of free trade benefits the United States in the long run. You are a terrible deal maker. You reordered Air Force One with second-hand planes that now need to be converted into military aircraft because they were civilian aircraft, and it's going to cost way more than if you just have asked Boeing to build you 2 military Air Force Ones in the first place. It's not just about the deal on the day. There is a long-term and knock-on effect. That is what trade is. That is what ongoing business deals are. But you don't work like that. You do a dodgy deal, you think you've either made money or saved money, and then you run away. You can't run the country like it's a business, because it's not a business. It's not designed to make profit. It is designed to allow people to live harmoniously, to make a living, to pay back into the system. It's not just about the bottom line so that you can show off.
We built the Panama Canal. Should have never been given to Panama. We should have had it. But we gave it for $1. Think of it. They quadrupled. In one day, they lifted the fees, which are, pretty big, for these massive ships to go through, right? Rather than going around the Cape and to all the tremendous storms, such beauty, it's beautiful stuff. But you didn't want to get caught in those storms. Those were storms that wiped out the biggest ships. And we go through the Panama Canal, we built it, and we gave it away for $1. Think of that. How stupid are we? We have done the stupidest things in this country.
Okay, I get it now. So you've obviously had the TV on and it's late at night and you're flicking around and one of these documentaries about the Panama Canal comes on, which you've didn't even know what it was, and now you've seen it and you're like, you've seen a bit about Jimmy Carter and $1 and that's stuck in your mind, and so now it's all you can talk about.
And now we have a president that can't put two sentences together, can't speak, can't walk, can't talk. I don't think he gets to the starting gate, but these people do miracles. I mean, he ran out of his basement, and you got away with that one because of COVID, so he sort of got away with it. They cheated on the election. But you have people that are very smart, but they're fascists and they're radical left lunatics, and they're destroying our country with the all-electric cars and the windmills all over the place, which, by the way, don't work, and most of them made in China. For the most part, they're made in China. Germany a little bit, but China.
So it was the Panama Canal, and that's owned by China, and now China is controlling Biden. But if you get rid of the Panama Canal, then you take it back from China. But Biden can't even walk and he can't even talk, and yet somehow he cheated on the election, although you stopped talking then because you're not allowed to talk about the election because you could be in contempt of court and perjure yourself again. So then you change the subject very quickly, and now you are just throwing anything at the wall to see what sticks. How on earth you were the president for 4 years of the United States of America, had all of that responsibility, and didn't get us blown up, I will never know. You are going to lose in court, you are going to lose the election, and you are going to lose your freedom. You have tried to break the system, you have tried to overturn elections, you have stolen classified documents, you are not fit for office. And at what point are you going to get that message?
The 4 indictments, and maybe there'll be more. I don't know. These people are crazy.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can hear me every day on the 5 Minute News audio podcast. You can hear me on Wednesdays hosting MAGA Uncovered, and on Sundays on The Weekend Show with MeidasTouch.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.